This is a progress report on my Model A 1930 Ford build and update. The picture of the truck here is what I'd like it to look like someday when it's finished. So this is what I started with 2 years ago. I picked it up in Brockville. It's a frame, the axle, steering wheel, whole bunch of parts, all in pieces. So I had to look online and buy books, all kinds of stuff, because I didn't have a complete car to reference. So what I'm going to go over in the next few slides are my process of rebuilding things. I tried to update things where I could. For example, neoprene seals in the oil and water pumps. Those weren't available at the time. They were rope seals, so eventually they were bound to leak. Different ways of sealing things that just leaked oil because they were overlooked, and other upgrades like what I'll explain here with the leaf springs. So Model A is built with 2 crossways leaf springs instead of more normal running along the frame rails, for example. So instead of using grease like the originals, I used graphite slip plate, which won't dry up or go all over the place like grease. That's one upgrade. This is the starter. I stuck with 6 volts in the system. A lot of people who use their cars more and want them to start better go to 12 volts, but I like the original style, so I stuck with it. This is the rebuilt starter, new bushings, new brushes. It's all carbon brushes still. You can see the Bendix protruding the opposite way that it would on a normal modern vehicle, I should say. This was the start to a big process. This is rebuilding the engine. There's a lot of old style things in the engine that I couldn't find as easily as you could modern ones, for example. It's taking the head off. That's the fiber timing gear that for the camshaft. You can upgrade those with aluminum these days. I stuck with the fiber though. This was head studs. Big time problems with broken head studs, so I drilled it and welded it and all kinds of stuff until I finally could re-tap it and use the same hole. There's the block all ready for paint. This next process is vital. It's lining up, using that lever and the carriage bolt, lining up the flywheel housing with the block. For this you need to use shims under those silver bolts at the top there to make sure that it's square. If it's not square, your transmission won't be in line with the crank axis and it will come out of gear. These are the original pedals, clutch and brake, and they were known to wear, big time wear on the shaft, so I replaced them with new bronze bushings and drilled and tapped them for grease zerks so I can keep them lubricated, prevent them from wearing the shaft. The old one was very bad, you have a lot of slop, so these will stay tight. This is sealing the rear of the transmission. The oil was very thick, called 600 weight oil, like honey. This is a milled piece of aluminum that will cover the shafts that hold the gears. And originally that would just leak. That was known, it would leak, you had to top it up. This is a method of at least trying to slow that leak down. Transmission has all new bearings, brand new bearings in it, needles and ball bearings. There's the transmission ready to go in. The front can also be sealed in the transmission, but in this case I observed that its leaking acts to partly lubricate the front suspension. That's safety wire and the universal joint housing. This is the frame, pretty well ready to accept the engine. This is making sure with a dial indicator that the flywheel is flush. There's the engine placed in. There's a lot of tugging, pushing back and forth to line up the motor mount. And this is my first start. You'll see the smoke, that's from a leaky manifold. I still have to fix that, but I hope you enjoy.
Well, nice. Something.